Welcome. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn continuing professional education credit for attending this session. There are no polling questions or attendance checks. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz using the Earmark app. Visit earmark.app in your web browser. You can also download the mobile app by scanning the QR code on the screen. Log in, or if you're new, create your free account. Be sure to use a valid email address because that's where we'll send your course completion certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. It takes us a few days to create the course on the app, so if you are attending this session live, please wait a few days. We'll email you a link to the course when it is ready. If you have questions or need help, email us at support@earmarkcpe.com.
Well, welcome to another Workshop Wednesday, where it's all about casual conversations for serious workflows, brought to you by School of Bookkeeping, which I've just changed the slogan here. While that intro video was going on, I was like, because it's really not allowing you to be the best bookkeeper you can be, because, well, I mean, there's other things that take a factor in making you the best keeper
You
you
don't just
can
have
be.
to be a
You're not going to
bookkeeper.
get that from School of Bookkeeping,
Yes.
but you will learn QuickBooks your way, right? So, and because we have 3 different membership levels, well, actually 4, because we have the core, which is all about we have the core, which is all about small businesses, focused on small business. So if you have some clients that need some extra learnings, like maybe you're not doing, maybe that's not part of your engagement. Maybe they're in their books doing their things, and you want something complementary to the services that you offer as a bookkeeper, you can have them sign up for the core, which those courses that are in School of Bookkeeping will just focus on things that a small business owner might be needing. And
that's super helpful, because a lot of them are right in there doing a lot of things.
And you can there's lots of ways to engage with us at School of Bookkeeping while you're taking those courses, right? Because they're small, bite-sized lessons. Each of them has a comment, or where you can ask questions. If something just didn't make sense there, you can ask a question there and we can answer it. And then there's other ways to reach out to us directly, to get some quick answers, right? That's elite, right? So we're talking about elite membership level. And then somewhere in between is premium, which we kind of manage that. The types of memberships mirrored that off of the QuickBooks payroll service offerings, a core, premium, and elite. So the premium is really focused on accountants, right? Accountants and bookkeepers. So that will have additional courses that you don't have in the core, that will allow for those types of things. Like, should I be a pro advisor, right? Like all the cool tools that are in the QBOA. Obviously a small business in the core, wouldn't necessarily be concerned about wanting to know that, right? So those are the 3 membership options that we have. And then we have, just like every other streaming service has a plus at the end of it, we have Elite Plus, which
gotta have a plus.
Right. So Elite gives you the quick answers, which is our online chat option. You can reach out. You've used it before, Rachel, and your team as well. The Elite Plus gives you an hour session that you can book with us, so that if you have some want to do some screen sharing or things like that, that's included in the membership, right? So those are our membership options, and that's why that's a long answer of why I wanted to change the little slogan there of you can learn QuickBooks your way, right? So if you need help, we're here to help you with that. If you're more of a do-it-yourselfer, you can just watch the courses and get your learnings on that way, right?
Yeah, and for anybody that's waited for over an hour for QuickBooks support
Only to be
knows
transferred
that's
5
not always
times.
fun.
Yeah. Right, and that's the whole idea of quick answers: is get your answer, get back to work, right? So
Yeah.
do what you do what you love best, and don't be waiting on hold for somebody to let me research that for you.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that we have in all of our offerings is a course on bank feeds, right? So QuickBooks Online bank feeds is a very powerful. I think if you had to stack up the things that make QuickBooks Online cool, bank feeds will be pretty high on the list. Would you agree, Rachel?
Yeah, for me it's the number one feature.
What do you like most about the bank feeds? I mean, what is it? How does it help you as an accounting professional or your clients using it as a tool?
Well, it just brings in all of the transactions for you to do what you need to do. So instead of having to maybe go convert PDF statements and upload them into QuickBooks Online, or manually key them in one by one, which is, I know a lot of people used to do. It just basically pulls the transactions straight from the either bank or credit card or what other financial institution that's grabbing all of your transactions, both money in and money out, and it just brings them into a dashboard for you to either deal with if they're transferring back and forth to each other, or being needing to be categorized onto your financials. So it's really, really great. It's a huge time saver.
Yeah, and it's I mean it when you compare that to QuickBooks Desktop, I think one of the cool things about what sets QuickBooks Online is because it's already in the cloud, right? So
Mm-hmm.
once you make that connection to your bank, the automatic, at least the theory, right? The automatic.
Yeah.
I mean, we all deal with things when they don't work, right? But
Yeah.
um, the idea is that once you connect it, it will nightly go out and check the bank's website, grab new transactions, and the following morning they're just waiting there for you to
Yeah. I mean, with
to
a few specific exceptions here and
yeah,
there, maybe a connection will break here and there, depending on the bank. I
yeah,
think we all know the ones that we love, maybe the ones that give us more trouble. But for the most part, if it's
yeah,
working correctly, I never have issues.
yeah. I mean, nothing is more frustrating, right, when it doesn't work, right? Like
Oh man.
because you rely so much on it, right,
Yes.
and then it doesn't work,
Yes.
right? It's like when a YouTube video buffers, like, oh, the
Yeah.
the the
Yeah.
humanity on that, right? um
Yeah.
but I
Well,
mean,
and
there
then
is a
another thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that there is, even if it doesn't grab, nightly, there is a button there to click update. It updates all of
Yeah.
them. You really don't get that experience in QuickBooks Desktop. It's more of, I got to go out to the website, got to download those transactions, or I pay the bank for the luxury of clicking that button, right? With
Yeah.
QuickBooks Online, it's all included, right?
Yeah, I
What do
was
you?
gonna say, like, for me, one thing that I really have decided about the bank feeds as it pertains to my team and what they're doing with the bank feeds is it's sort of taken um, the technician's role from keying in financial transactions with potential human error to everything is coming in, and their skill set is been able to develop into and I again, this is really more from the perspective of the bookkeeping team, as
Mhm.
opposed to the business owner. I'm sure they're able to learn a lot more too when the financial information is there and you don't have to spend all the time keying it in. But their role has really gone from data entry to really understanding the whole accounting equation and the accounting cycle, and really becoming actually more skilled about the flow of financial information. And I couldn't be happier, because they're really getting into the nitty gritty of really what's going on in the financial statement versus, oh, I'm just going to spend all my time keying it in. And for me, that's, I think, one of the biggest changes I've seen throughout the years.
Yeah, the where they actually can get into the nitty gritty of those types of things,
Yeah.
because they can see, money in, money out,
Yeah.
in that bank feed. So I did put in the link directly to the QuickBooks Online bank feeds course that we have at School of Bookkeeping in the comments, and up in the right here is a QR code. So you need access to be able to do that, to be able to access it. So if you're not a member or subscriber, you can sign up for a 30-day free trial, take a look at those courses, and see what you think. Let us know. Feedback is always a gift. That's why it's a gift, right?
I don't know if that made sense entirely.
No,
I
turned
That's
into
why it's a gift.
Yeah, I pulled like a grandpa on combining.
That's okay. I think we understood what you meant.
Yeah. We appreciate. I was thinking two different things at the same time.
That's okay.
But what I was doing is I was I wanted to do something on statement fetching, which is a brand new or relatively new feature of the bank feed. So I went and I started looking at the course that we have, and I immediately was smacked in the face, and like, because there's a little overview where I do a little navigational overview of the bank feeds, and on the screenshot that I was or the screen that I was working on, there were 3 options in the banking menu, and now today there's 7. So I'm like, oh my God,
I have to look right now.
we need to do an update. So this is
kind
of a good thing to refresh, what it is that we're doing, because there's the good thing about QuickBooks Online is it updates regularly. The bad thing about QuickBooks Online is that it updates regularly. Right?
Yeah.
So keeping up.
Oh my gosh, it looks like they added reconcile, chart of accounts, and recurring transactions.
Yeah, so let me share my screen so we
that's
can
in
all
QBOA,
see.
So I don't know. But you share your screen.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if maybe this is in.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because I don't think they have business view and accountant view anymore, so I don't think I can tell. But so you're saying it is in, like, if I were a business owner and I was looking at my Plus subscription, that's what I would see too.
Yes. And the naming has changed, right? So instead of it saying banking like it used to say, it now says transactions or bank transactions, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends on whether you're in your books or your client's books. This is just a demo account, so not really, not a real. We're not going to see real stuff here. But whoops, I'm in the wrong one. So we've got bank transactions, app transactions, receipts, reconcile, rules, chart of accounts, and recurring transactions are now available from the transactions menu. By clicking on transactions, it takes you to, the bank feed, right? Which again has those 7 options at the top. Now,
interesting.
Reconcile, chart of accounts, recurring transactions, those 3, there's nothing new there, right? It's so don't get excited that, there was 3 there was originally 3, now there's 7. There's really those are just access points, right? So recurring transactions is going to take you to recurring transactions, just like going up here to the gear.
Yeah, you used to have to go to the gear wheel or
recurring transactions, right? So nothing
I access
changes.
mine through Right Tool.
Yeah.
Thanks, though, Intuit. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Because when I worked there, discovery was always sometimes a challenge, right? So if you only put one way to get to a certain feature or function inside of QuickBooks, um, if you didn't happen to stumble upon it, you wouldn't get there, right? So
Yeah.
that's what they're trying to do there with, putting multiple different ways to get to the same
To
place,
access
right?
things.
So chart
Yes.
of
And
accounts will only
Mariette
take
made a
you.
comment about the business view versus accountant view. And yeah, that was a thing for a while. It was like you either loved it or you hated it, but I think they got rid of it at some point.
And we appreciate you saying that we are the gift.
I love Mariette.
She's awesome.
She is one of my favorite people.
But yes, they're just those additional 4 options. 3 of them are just different ways to get to the same place, right? So
yeah.
One thing that is that I want to talk about a little bit is app transactions, because that is something that is newish than when we created the original course. And I was trying to look for a resource that's out there that talks about what in the world is app transactions. And this is one of those things that it's terrible. It's a terrible experience because app transactions, like if you try to search for app transactions in the bank feed, you're going to get all things about different apps or transactions. So it's like, it's one of those general search terms that is going to give you lots of different rabbit holes
it's a little bit of a
go down.
confusing name. I don't know if it represents exactly what it is.
Right. Yeah, it's like the word deposit, right? Like if you search for deposit, what are you talking about? Deposit, customer deposits or bank deposits or something else, right?
Exactly.
Invoices is these are terms that are they have multiple meanings. So searching for those answers tends to be overwhelming, I guess, when the search engine doesn't really know the difference, and people call them the same thing interchangeably, right? So the Intuit forums and community boards and all those things just it adds a lot of noise, right? So with app transactions, the whole idea is I think the easiest way to sum it up, and I try to make things simple, understandable, and memorable, right? And it's not lost on me that spells some. Right? So I'm really geeking out here on math when it comes to words and math. But I think the easiest way to describe what shows up in app transactions is you're only going to see things that are created by Intuit, right? So you're not going to see anything in app transactions that's not made by Intuit, right? So
gotcha.
This is not a complete list, right? So this is why it's so bonkering, right? This is why it's so maddening, is that where's Square? Square, the Square connector that Intuit makes is not listed here. I know.
It used to be.
It's not. It's just not listed here. It'll show up here, right? So if you've got it connected, it shows up here. But why is there not a placard?
Now I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I have some clients where I access their Square that way. That's weird that it's not showing up. So you're saying it's only going to be visible if it's an Intuit developed connector.
Correct. And that doesn't mean that all Intuit developed apps are going to show up in app connections, but there will be, like PayPal, the PayPal connector, which it's that we talked about PayPal, pretty ad nauseum before. It's one of those hybrid-ish type of things, right? It could be a sales channel, it could be a payment method.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if that one right there is the same one that you find when you go to connect. I wonder if it is or if it's maybe slightly different, but it is. Yeah. So it could be kind of wonky. And then that actually, I like that there's the Amazon Seller Central now, because it used to only be Amazon Business. So what's interesting about this is what it means is that, oh boy, I was going to say, it seems like it's bringing in all of the sales data. If maybe you've got Amazon sellers or Shopify or eBay, but not necessarily with PayPal or Amazon Business, because it's also going to record purchasing. So it's money in and money out.
Exactly. The and Amazon Business is not a sales channel, as it's pointing to it here. Sync your sales channel data with QuickBooks. Well, then why is Amazon Business showing up in there?
It's super
those are for purchases.
Confusing. It's super confusing. It's like if your business uses Amazon Business, it'll connect to it and it'll bring in the backup, which is really, really nice. I even use it for my firm. It's really cool. But I was going to ask you, it's one of those things where it's like every single time I have to explain to somebody, at looking at transactions, or, we're discussing app transactions, I usually always have to say, because the word app transactions is confusing. So like you were saying, so I always have to say, it's that one to the right of bank transactions, and then you click on there, and then you go in there and you look for that one thing. It always takes a ton of extra explaining that I wonder if there's that they can come up with a better way of naming it or something. I feel like I'm always explaining this.
Yeah, because you've got this app transactions, then you've got apps over here, and those are completely two separate things, right? So, oh my goodness. Well, we've gone down that rabbit hole, but when you
Why do they do that? They always name two things the same name. It's very strange.
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked about it pretty well yesterday on the Power Hour when
you guys did.
Intuit Enterprise Suite versus QuickBooks Enterprise. They're not the same enterprise, right? It's like the Captain Kirk Enterprise versus the Picard Enterprise, right? So there's two same ship, different captains, right? So
and there's QBOA and QBOA. So it's very weird that they do that. It always requires some translation. But that is pretty cool that they've got the Amazon seller. Now I'm guessing it's probably only one store. If you've got one Amazon store, I don't think you can connect multiple.
The eBay, the Shopify, and the Amazon Seller Central, that's the commerce stuff, right? So those sales channels that you can connect into QuickBooks, and we'll probably need to table a separate workshop for just those things. But that's where app transactions shows up here. So the other thing, so there's the bank transactions, which in essence has the navigation has changed, or the overview, or the way it looks will change over time, but the functionality is essentially the same. You've got your got your banks, and you've got your work cut out for you, because I've got 314 transactions sitting in here. That's why this is a demo and not a real one. But you've got your bank accounts listed there, and ways that you can interface with the bank feeds, linking a new account, uploading files, and why ordering checks shows up in here. But guess what? There's another way to discover that you can order ordering checks.
Oh yeah, that is new, because I haven't seen that there before, and it's on mine. I just looked.
The option of ordering checks is not new, but the discovery of where it is
that's what I mean. Just in that drop down.
And then the update button to update these accounts. Now the what has changed quite a bit is this little baby gear. I don't know, is that smaller? They call this the baby gear as opposed to the gear. I don't know why. Again, there's two gears, right? So there's another another.
I haven't ever heard it called baby gear, but I always call it, I guess, the smaller
sub gear. What do you call it?
Or the other gear 2.0. I don't know.
I end up calling it no, not that gear, because that's what people tend to do. Is they go to this gear, which is and then you're like,
because on mine it looks like it's the same size.
Yeah, it does seem, but on some other pages, the gear that gear is smaller. This is relatively new or newish at least from the time that I created the course, is the options that you have under
Yeah.
this gear, right? Being able to add additional columns that were there. Business, by the way, is my naming convention for location. So just by the way, that like, what? Wait, I don't have business in mind. But you can
Oh, so
add more
you went
columns.
to your labels.
Yeah.
Sorry. For location or class, and you
Yes.
renamed it to be business, to
Business.
say business, not class or
Right.
location.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's this option for grouping, right? So you can group transactions by doing that, by turning that on or off, which will just make it a little easier to manage if you've got 314 transactions to deal with. You can group them. And then this
Mhm.
automation of adding new vendors. We add common vendors to your transactions, and vendor list only applies to future
Oh,
transactions. So
that's where that is.
see,
Oh.
and then you've got some options with the transaction details. So show amounts in one column, right? So rather than having the spent versus received, you can show amounts in one column, and it just has one column. Again, if you're just needing to save on real estate, right? So if you only have so much screen area to work with, showing the tags field, but don't get too excited. The tags are going away, right? So I think in March, I think they're getting discontinued. An editable date field, which is cool. You can change the date. Wait, can you? Did I? What happened? Well, let's see here. Well, I guess you can change the date. Let's just double check here. So if I turn it off, go into a transaction. Yeah, I
Yeah,
cannot
like you
cannot
can't
change the
change
date
the
there.
date.
So that's what that is.
And I feel like if I were, helping a client manage bank feeds, then I might turn that off.
Yeah,
I don't want them changing dates.
right. Because that's the date from the bank, right? So
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I guess when you're
I feel like that's
um,
opening up a door of total pandemonium. Just
right.
not change those dates.
Yeah, and if you have a concern about the dates, enter the transaction into QuickBooks first, and then just have it
Yeah.
match, right? So if
Yes.
it's you have a little bit more control over the date
Yes.
there, and then enabling suggested categorization. This is the double-edged sword, I think, of the
Yeah.
of the bank feed, right?
This is
And
when the smart rules are sometimes stupid.
mhm.
I always
Right,
explain that to people. They're like, oh, well, no, it says office supplies. That's what it is.
yeah, that's
Not always.
not always the case. I mean, there's only so much information that the bank will be able to provide in
Mhm.
the bank feeds. So, just because the name of the company is one thing does not determine what they actually sell. I used to,
Yeah.
it's an interesting or funny side story that we're, I used to work in the point of sale department when people call in, retail businesses would call in. And I had a little game with myself that was I would try to guess what they sold from the name of the the business. So when
Oh.
the screen would pop, right, and I would just see the name of the company. We'd do the little small talk at the beginning, and at some point I would try to figure out what they sold. Well, the company calls in, and the person on the other end, she said her name, and the name of the company was Our Lady of the Lake, and
Ooh.
and I so immediately I just spit out, "Oh, what do you do? Distribute swords?" And there was this silence on the other end of the phone as she explained to me, "No, we are a Christian bookstore." So
Oh, yeah, because I think like that was maybe like a King Arthur reference or something,
yes,
right?
yeah,
That
it
you
was
were saying. Yeah, I was gonna say
Excalibur,
maybe not all businesses are as
as punny as me.
clear as like toilet bowls are us or something like that. Lady of the
Right.
Lake. Oh, a
Yeah.
Christian store. Okay. Christian
Yeah. So
bookstore. Yeah.
they were by a
Yeah.
lake,
Hmm.
they were in Lake
Oh,
Havasu.
okay.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was Our Lady
Yeah.
of the lake. And so, that's what sent
Yeah.
me down that rabbit hole there of,
Yes.
of the name of
Yeah,
the
and
company.
it's weird because it really, I mean, I would probably say like the bank feeds are, while I mean, we think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread,
Mhm.
they're also the biggest point of confusion for
Yes.
newer people using QuickBooks, or maybe people that don't necessarily know. It can wreak a lot of havoc. So, and a lot
Yeah.
of times it's because of these suggestions
Right.
based on maybe what the sometimes I would see that it's oftentimes like if you're going top to bottom and you manually put in one thing above it, it might like fill it in beneath it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's not even necessarily just based on whatever the name is, it's kind of based on what you're doing. So you have to be really careful. It wants to pop something in there and it's often wrong. You really can't trust what it's suggesting.
Yeah. And part of that is this rules, right? So,
Yeah.
and to your point, what we're talking about with, suggesting, this is all part of the bigger AI picture of, when we talked about,
Mhm.
this kind of stuff with Ted last time, is that, this is where you're teaching the machines to learn,
Yeah.
right? And it's not just you that's teaching the machines, it is everybody that's using these things, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes the machine gets it wrong, right? Because people are getting it wrong as well, and they're telling, you know, I mean, you have a and most of us have business and clientele because they're not managing this stuff correctly,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So, this is where it's gonna get better as, you know good data gets entered in. But this is where QuickBooks starts to learn how you interact with these transactions, and as you interact with these transactions, it's going to make suggestions like, hey, the last 5 times that something's come in from Home Depot, you've put it, would you like
Mhm.
me to do that for you? This is the machine talking to
Yeah.
me, right? Right now. All right, so that's where the suggestion comes in, and if you say yes, then it's going to create a rule. And you'll see that here in the rules, and there will be a little, I don't know what this, icon is, where it's it looks like an atom or something like,
Oh, yeah,
where,
yeah.
where it's,
Yeah.
it tells you, hey, you didn't do this. QuickBooks did,
Yeah.
suggested this thing. And that in of itself, the suggestions isn't such a bad thing. It's when they choose the option to automatically add it, right? So
Yeah.
that's this
Don't
guy here,
love
this,
that.
auto
Don't
add,
love the
right?
auto ad.
Right. So this is saying, this rule is, well, let me just take a look at the rule here. Uh, so when money is coming out for all bank accounts and the description contains deed along savings, it's going to create an expense to uncategorized expense, and it's going to automatically add it. That is a horrible rule, right? Because you will never see this transaction again in the bank feed to work with it. You'll see it
Right.
when you go to reconcile, right?
Right.
Or when you run your reports at the end of the month and wonder, why is there all this stuff in uncategorized expense? And then you go and delete that transaction, the rule kicks back in, and it shows back up on the register again. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, what's that Greek guy that, kept pushing the rock up the hill, right? It's
Oh,
Sisyphus,
oh
right?
yeah,
Is
Sisyphus. Yeah. Yeah.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, that's rough, and I mean, and it's hard because again, sometimes if I'm going in and doing cleanup or looking at somebody's QuickBooks, uh, they think that that's saving them time and it's making it easier, but sadly, it's actually causing a lot of problems. But I will
Right.
say, the one thing that I do love are the obvious, the telephone expense or things like that. Different utilities, rent, maybe things like that. Whereas like I find the Home Depots and the Amazons and the um, you know, uh, I was trying to think of some other one, where it's like, could be cost goods sold, could be job supplies, could be this. I'm not even necessarily against a rule. If it could be either cost goods sold or supplies, then I still am reviewing it, but I don't want it auto adding.
Right. Yeah.
No,
Auto
no.
add is it's a double edged sword, right? Our Lady of the Lake would not agree to.
Yeah,
See, I
it's
tied
not,
that back
auto
in.
ad is not meant for control freaks like me.
Yeah.
I need to see it. I need to review it. I need to make sure I'm seeing the vendor. I'm seeing the amount. I'm seeing the date. I'm seeing the things.
Now, if you're 100% sure all the time, go ahead.
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly. If you know AT&T
will all.
is,
Wow, we were synced up there.
Yeah.
We were using the same example.
Yeah, or waste management, or some of these things that are always going to be the same thing all the time. Then fine, let's auto add.
Yes, but it's to a lot of people's credit, right, or to in their defense, a lot of people don't see that auto add already selected, and that's what tends to get people into trouble, right? So what we really wanted to talk about today is statement fetching, which is a brand new-ish feature, where it's always been quite a challenge to get your statements. Now there is a I mean, what is your struggle sometimes been in statements? Like how you work with your clients. Do they, prior to the anything like this, but do they send you the statements, or do you get the statements, or how does getting the statements so that you can actually do the bank reconciliation play out in your business?
Yeah. So, well, first I have to say, when I first started, like maybe 5 years ago, I had no idea how to get the statements. It's one of those things where I just didn't know, I didn't realize that I could be added onto my client's account as like a admin user, a read-only user. And it took me like a good few months to like ask other people, what do you guys do? How do you do it? So the fact that the statements are being added now is really nice for people that might not know, right? So that's why I like some of these added features, because it makes me realize, oh yeah, I remember when I was trying to do that, and it took me like months to kind of figure out what the heck should I do. But what we do is, for 90% of our clients, we usually will have them add us to their checking account, credit card account. For Amazon, not Amazon, for Amex, it's a little different. I have like one Amex like master user, and then we can connect to our various clients under that one user. So Amex is a little bit different. Other credit cards are fairly straightforward and simple. You can go in and you can add a administrative user. Banks are also very similar. You can add read-only administrative users. You could also request them from your client. I know some people that do that. Maybe we might have one older client maybe that we still do it that way. I can't even really remember. Jamie would know. But so that's an option. If you have a secure portal, you could have your clients submit their statements through a secure portal. Do not email them over as attachments in email or anything like that. That is a very unsecure thing to do. Secure portals are definitely safer for that kind of thing. So I know that there are some firms that do that. They rely on their clients uploading statements to a portal at the end of the month. For the most part, like I said, we'll go in and grab them. We've seen in the last couple of years that there are several banks that now comply with QuickBooks, and we can find them now attached, like you're probably going to show. I think it was B of A for a while, maybe not now. Chase, yes. And what that means is I just go in to reconcile the checking account, and lo and behold, the statements are there. They've fetched them and
Ta-da!
they're ready to go. Yeah.
Right. So there's this button
yeah,
here that says View
exactly.
Statements, and then you click on it, and anything that's unreconciled will be listed here
Yeah.
or downloaded. Anything that's been reconciled will be there. Now,
And
when
that's Chase. I can see that you've
Yeah.
got. So yeah, that's that when when a new client tells me they bank with Chase, I'm just like, yes. And a lot of
Well,
them do, and I really love that because then I don't even have to deal with the headache of it.
Yeah, because they just show up inside of QuickBooks. Now, there's an article here, and I shared it in the comments here. It's got a link in here of the list of supported banks, right? So you can open this up. It's a PDF and see by scrolling.
Oh, that's
all
really cool.
of
Actually,
these
I've never
banks.
seen that. Yeah,
All
that's
of them.
a lot.
Yeah, if you're getting them, all of you speed readers who happen to be watching me just scroll through.
I can't even see it, let alone read it. But you're
trying to
saying
figure out how many
those
pages
will
this is.
those will fetch statements, you're saying?
Yeah, right. Those will fetch statements and show up in your bank, or in your in the reconcile screen when you do that. Now, when they're downloaded, the really cool part is that when you do reconcile, it will automatically attach that downloaded statement to the reconciliation report, and you're done. Right. So,
Yep.
Now there, and one of the other things that I was going to kind of demonstrate or show here is that when it's downloaded, the last time that I did this, when it's downloaded and you're reconciling, it would have, the last time I saw this, it would automatically pre-fill the statement ending balance and the statement ending date from the statement. Now it's not doing it today. I don't know why. But
yeah, it does it. Sometimes it does it. Sometimes it doesn't. But I know what you're saying. It's really cool. It'll pop it in there, and then you hit start reconciling. And if you've done your bookkeeping correctly and everything is matched when it should be, then instant 0 and everything is reconciled. It's the greatest thing on the planet. I love it.
Yeah, it's and this is one of those things where it's just like end to end process inside of QuickBooks, right? So you don't have to manage those those secure portals, trying to hunt down the source documentation, whatever that might be, whether it's the statement or the check stubs or whatever, right? So it's
and like one thing that Jamie just mentioned in the chat is that's not the worst part of that whole system. The worst part of that whole system is the two-factor authentication. That is by far the biggest pain in the what, because even if we do even if we do have access, it is still oftentimes wanting to request a code. Oh yeah, that's true. I sometimes, I don't always check the pre-fill and check the statement anyway too, but a lot of times I'll just let it do it first, and just, we'll see. But yeah, it's that two-factor authentication that is just like, sometimes I find myself just doing that all day, just checking codes, sending codes. It's really time consuming. And so if you can, find out a way to get them to switch to Chase. No, I'm just kidding. That's not really your job. But if they happen to be with Chase and it will, bring the statements over, man, that's really great.
It's one of the reasons that I like, some of the fintech or the online banks, especially things like Relay, especially, and if you're, partnered with Relay, you can basically have access to all of your clients' accounts right there. And of course you can grant, different access and whatnot, but the check images and the statements are all right there for you in your banking portal, as opposed to maybe it's not in QuickBooks.
Yeah, that is a really good point. And I am a relay partner also, and I've had some clients that have signed up through me, and so I have access to their statement information. For some reason, though, it won't bring the statements into QBO. I don't know why, but maybe it's a work in progress. But yeah, that's another great option, is those smart banks that don't really have a branch, but they sort of exist online, that you can kind of get into theirs too, which is really nice.
Yeah. So that kind of encapsulates the biggest changes that we've that I was noticing. Let me just check my notes here to make sure that I covered everything. Small gear, statement fetch. Okay, yes. Want to make sure I covered it.
I should probably add, let me just say this. If you are doing your bank feeds regularly, you're not causing any duplication, you're doing everything correctly, you're matching, when you've got transfers, and, everything is being done timely, at that month end, if they bank with Chase and that statement has fetched and it pops in the number for you, it's already reconciled, and it takes you a second. It is really
I did
cool.
6 months worth of statements on my own books with in less than a minute.
It's just like next month. It could be a tick of six button clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months in a row, just like that.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern, though, is that because the bank feed is so cool, people tend to try to manage their business from the bank feed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where people get themselves into trouble. Where they're trying to do all sorts of additional workflows. Because the original intention of online banking in general is to match in the bank fee, in the bank register, what the bank has, right? So to assist in that reconciliation process, right? So if the bank and I was going to ask my son, I don't think he's ever reconciled a bank account, right? Because they don't teach that stuff in school anymore.
Right.
The whole idea of the check register, and then getting in the bank, the paper statement, checking off in the paper register, and it's always turns out to be
actually, they used to call that
a mixed up number.
Yeah, they used to call that balancing the checkbook. Remember that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what it was designed to solve for, is bridging the gap between what's in QuickBooks and what is from what the bank knows what should be in QuickBooks, and then making reconciliation a breeze, right? So that's the goal. So when people, because the bank feed now allows you to connect a deposit to an open invoice, which is now connecting workflows in your bank feed, people get a little bit anxious about that, and start to go a little crazy with what they're doing in the bank feed. Like, oh, well, I can just manage my whole business. Well, then they put in deposits to income when the invoice is doing that and not tying those workflows all together.
Yeah, it can get a little murky.
Again, the double-edged sword of Our Lady of the Lake.
Well, I mean, like what I said before about it can cause horrible issues, when done wrong. So that's that can cause duplication if you've got something posting already from somewhere else, and then you're depositing things to income. It can cause a lot of problems. I usually like to use this terminology, because when I first started using QBO, I was sort of led down the wrong path a couple different times, and I thought I could do more things in the bank feeds than I probably should have. Now I've sort of swung the other direction. I like to tell QuickBooks the things first and let QBO match. And that isn't really the way I first learned. And but now I'm let's tell it first. And I just like that way of putting it, where it's like, we just want to tell QuickBooks, this is what happened. What comes in after the fact through the bank feed will match. And so that's really like the way I like to explain it to my clients.
Yeah, that's
if I allow them to do the bank feed,
yeah.
but I don't.
No touch. It should be like a Rachel smack of the wrist. Don't get your knuckles wrapped by that. All right. Well,
that's the thing is I okay, I could talk about that forever, but I'll
yeah, we're almost, our half-hour discussion turned into 50 minutes. So wanted to kind of wrap up the workshop today. We appreciate you joining us. Hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And we'll see you next time on the Workshop Wednesday. Everybody have a great day.